Hey everyone, and welcome to the Perfect Bite podcast, your fusion of food and entrepreneurship. You'll hear stories from chefs, restaurateurs, CPG brands, and more from the food and bev industry. All of them are at different points in their journeys, talking about their experiences and how they've cooked up something new. Let's dig in. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Perfect Bite podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Perkins. In the realm of the culinary arts, certain rules are meant to be rewritten. In fact, that's when the most exciting and memorable dishes are born. Today's guest brings his heritage to the plate and lets Chicago know that there are many ways to enjoy Indian cuisine, including as a 7-course tasting menu. And despite being on the best cooking competition show there is, it's true in my opinion.
Yeah.
One of the best, yes. Your specialty really is collaboration, teaming up with chefs from different backgrounds to create new fusion concepts throughout the city. Please welcome chef and owner of Lilac Tiger, Coach House, Mirra, and Sarima Café, Zubair Mohajir.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so happy to see you. Thank you so much for taking time this morning. I know you're like running all over. You were just telling me before we officially hit record that you've been to Portugal and you've had a whirlwind year, just to say the least.
It feels like it, but it is such a blessing to be able to say that you have a whirlwind of a year doing something that you love. You know, I feel like a lot of other people right now could say completely otherwise. And so I think just to be able to do what we love to do and be able to work with the people that we work and have family around you while you're doing it, I think we don't count those blessings enough. So it's important to do that.
Yeah, it's very good to have that attitude of gratitude as we go into this. And like you said, this year, everyone I've talked to on this podcast is like, 2025 kind of feels like 2020 sometimes in different issues, but it's still really, really tough in hospitality, food and bev, agriculture. So thank you for keeping pushing forward and for creating all these great ideas so that people can also like just really embrace cultures that's not just the Midwest.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, not only Midwest.
And say this is Midwest.
100%. It's America. You know, America is born from immigrants. America is made of immigrants. America is sustained by immigrants. And none of that is going to change no matter what kind of talking points certain people in the country want to hit. We're a part of this country. Everybody's a part of this country, and it's going to continue to do so.
Yes, absolutely. And I appreciate that Chicago, even though I moved last year, it's still my hometown, and that the usual, city of big shoulders said, no way. Don't you think you're coming for us? Because we're not.
Come try.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And then we'll go eat a nice slice after together.
100%. Yeah. Well, I bet those guys would eat deep dish though. You know what I'm saying?
They'd be like, I always tell people, I'm like, that's like a once a year thing, like a twice a year thing.
Yeah.
With one single slice. And then you're like, that was really nice. But party cut is where it's at.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Has to be.
So I always do love to take all the way back to the beginning. Tell us when you first fell in love with food, those favorite foods as a kid, really what eating was like growing up in your house.
100%. So I was born in Chennai, India, which is the southern tip of India. I would say that's the best food in India right now. You know what I mean? It's just really great. I don't know. I feel like we're coming out of butter chicken world at the moment, so everybody's getting to realize that India is very, very vibrant, and they have been for a while, but it's really now at the forefront, which is really cool. But my beginnings were, my grandmother is probably the cook of the family, my maternal grandmother. And so my mom is also an amazing cook. So now it's like my mom has taken that title from her for the past like 50 years. But I would say we lost her just recently in 2021. And it was all natural causes. She was complaining about being around when all her peeps were gone. She was one of those from that generation. She's like, I'm bored, dude. I'm ready to see God, And we're like, we don't want you to go see God yet. You know what I mean? So she was a character and like such a strong woman, to say the least. But one of the few memories I have growing up in Chennai is like whenever you're tall enough to look over the dining table, but you're not actually have like an overview of it, and just wondering, I'm like, there's a lot of food on this table, and no matter what age you were, you had to wake up for breakfast. Everybody had to have breakfast together. It was like 6:30, 7 in the morning. Man, I just remember seeing food for like 30, and it was 7 of us at the table. So that's kind of the quintessential how my mom has always cooked.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if 20 people are coming over, we're cooking food for 50 because you just never know what's going to happen. So at a very early age, I was just engaged in this family dynamic where even when I got married to my wife, and she's from Pakistan, and Pakistanis also love food, but she would be like, yo, you guys are at breakfast talking about what you're going to have for lunch. You're at lunch talking about what you're going to do for dinner. Like, there's no like community conversations or how are you doing conversations or mental health conversations. It's what are we going to eat?
What are we eating?
Yeah. So you don't realize that growing up as a kid, but then you realize that food becomes a comforter. Food becomes a stress mechanism. Food becomes basically the what you reach for. And I still do this now. You know, if I'm getting stressed out or if I'm like working my ass off or something like that, it's those little moments I find if I'm at Jungbu Market. Now I'll be like, oh, I'll go grab that. I'll go grab that ingredient we need because I know I can go in the back of Jungbu and sit down 15 minutes, turn my phone off and just eat a bowl of this Korean stew that this woman is making in the back. So it's like, food becomes this relief, even if it's 5-10 minutes. So for me growing up, that was it. It's like the whole family is about food. Everything we think about now is about food. So that's where I fell in love with it. You know, growing up, when we moved to America, it was to Frankfort, Illinois, which I think people still in Chicagoland are like Frankfurt, Germany. And I'm like,
Right. I'm trying to
there's
think like
whole-
where in the state it is.
Frankfort, Illinois is basically southwest suburbs. It's by Orland Park, Tinley Park, New Lenox. You know, it's like by normal
It's like
places,
outside
but
the city. Yeah.
for some reason, nobody knows Frankfurt. And so, I mean, it's cool. It's not that cool, but Frankfurt is cool. It's a great place to raise your kids now. It's way more diverse. But when we moved in, it was like my high school was like 98.6% Caucasian. So it was a challenge to be 1997, the only brown representative you have in the media is Apu from Simpsons, and like you're the one brown kid or one Indian kid in school. There was one Asian dude, an African American kid, and that's it. That was us. That was the diversity of the school at the time, which is, I wouldn't change a thing about it. It was one of the best experiences of my life. I think coming in, it was just wild because you're this now all of a sudden in America and you're surrounded by people you've never seen before. And it's like going through that as a kid, what makes you comfortable is food. And so like mom would always make the things we made back home. So that was that one part as the story of every immigrant story. Like it's, you know, making your food when you've moved away from home is what reminds you of home. And I think that's always been the case in my family. And my mom started catering. And so she's South Asian. She doesn't want her house to fucking smell like food, right? So me and my dad had to basically build her a kitchenette in the garage in
Oh my
Frankfurt
God.
so she could cook in the garage so her house didn't smell like food. And so Saturday mornings was like, hey, Zubair, come to the garage. And I'm just like, okay, cool. And I'm just like prep cook basically in 8th grade and junior high and freshman year of high school and things like that throughout basically in this hot boxing garage making like biryani for 200 people. And I would just be watching her. I would be watching her do everything. It would be chaotic as hell, but it was just like, it felt right to help her. And of course, like she didn't ask my sister because she knew my sister hated that shit, but I didn't mind it. You know what I mean? So I think those were the seeds that kind of were planted, but like classic any immigrant household, they don't want us to work, which I never get. They don't want us to work as hard as they did. But I'm just like, nah, you should want to promote hard work ethic, right? And because that's what we got from them. That's what we learned and absorbed from them.
Yes.
So for me, it was we were pushed into, hey, you got to do something professional, of course. You got to try to be a doctor, try to be an engineer.
Entrepreneurialism isn't professional, even though she was your first example.
Exactly. Yeah. Entrepreneurialism was not it. It's like, it's too hard. Don't do it. Oh, it's too much risk. Don't do it. And it's not because of them. It's our whole cultural dynamic is like that, right? Sometimes you're just afraid as immigrants to take chances and to take these things because you may be surrounded by family members who are not entrepreneurial and they mean well, but they're like, hey, it's too hard. You know, there's all these other easy things you can do, or not exactly easy. Becoming a doctor is not easy. You know what I mean? But that's like, hey, study, give us a book, we'll go for it. And I think I laugh at that all the time because I'm like, yeah, sure. I know so many cousins. I'm probably the only one in my family who's not like, has like more than one degree. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody's a dentist, everybody's doing whatever. And it's great. But man, you put them in a kitchen, they look like nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like we all have our places in life. And I am somebody I realized growing up that I was just like, I never belonged in a classroom or I never belonged in a traditional way of learning. I was always very hands-on, but it's like it takes time in life to be able to come around to actually being able to thrive in a spot like that. And I think even though cooking was installed at a very young age, I still went to DePaul to be a finance dude and like worked in finance for years. And I
So you're
hated it.
finance bro.
Hated it. Yeah, absolutely finance, bro. The most materialistic people on earth.
Yeah.
To spend everything on clothes and watches and shoes and suits and all those things. And like 2008 comes around and I was walked out of my job.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best days of my life. I was elated
You were
that I
like,
was walked out of my
finally.
job. Yeah.
You're like, this is the moment.
So happy. Yeah.
Wow.
Because it was like a relief. It was like a weight lifted off, you know. And I felt sad for the people that are on me because I was like, I always joke. I was like, I saw grown ass men like crying on LaSalle Street. Like that was their life. They were walked out of Bear Stearns or whatever. And it's like things like that happen. And for me, that moment was I don't know. I'm weird. If I feel something and I feel it pretty strongly, I get into this tunnel vision of where I don't really care what anybody else thinks about it. I'll just do it for my own satisfaction of not, my only regret I'll ever have is not exploring that feeling when it comes to anything, right? And so I don't know why. I don't understand why I grew up like that. Maybe it's because of the households of like, you know, being, you have to do this way, this way, this way. And my mind is always like, well, what if you did it that way? And then what if you did it this way?
Your gut it really, you're actually doing things the way I wish other people were doing it, which is following your gut versus the quote unquote set rules that are out there, because it can feel like a really lonely path. That's for sure. But if your intuition and your gut is telling you that a certain way is the right way to go, look at where it's led you. I mean, so we're 17 years later. When was like,
damn, that's so old. 17 years old.
I was going to say, like, it's kind of hard to believe how many things we've also gone through in 17 years. Like,
that's nuts.
Nuts. Yeah. One then was that aha moment of, wait, I tried the traditional route. And in fact, like maybe today you can even think like, hey, I know what actually goes on the business side of things, thanks to the finance background you have. And, you know, get back in spreadsheet land and understand what's happening.
That's the funny part. I hate spreadsheet land. I will never get back to spreadsheet land. I'm in the creator land. You know what I mean? So it's like, I have a very strong buffer between me and spreadsheets since the day I got laid off. I don't want to do that ever again.
Like this is a trigger. Don't say
not happening. Yeah.
Don't say Excel.
Like, absolutely no way. It's wild. I mean, I don't know. Couldn't have it any other way. I think for me, the aha moment really was I did this thing where I would apply for culinary school and I would throw it in the garbage. I would apply for culinary school and I would throw it in the garbage. I did it like 5 times during, I was like, am I really about to do this? Then I decided to get married in the middle of it. So now my in-laws see me in a suit. My wife sees me having like a certain salary and thing like that. I'm like, am I really about to just ignite this, what is Zubair doing kind of moment? And you know what? The beautiful thing is when you love something so much and you get to a certain point, you just be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to light everything on fire. And so basically that's when the world will really prove to you if you chose the right partner or not.
So
I definitely chose the right partner that was very, very patient with me and said, yeah, yeah, sure, do it. And so we were both in this like kind of starting out down these careers. She was supposed to be a teacher. She's flipped. Now she's super smart. She's like a director of change management for AI at BDO.
Wow.
She just does wild shit. I don't even know what she does, but she does wild things. Me and my son still are trying to figure out what she does, but Mama's very smart and Mama's built her own way. And she is part of the reason why we were able to build our own way, because we realize it's just us, not that we don't have family support. We have family support, but when it comes to these kinds of decisions and career changes and things like that, you just have to have, for me, I was like, I just need to have her understand that what I'm doing. And so she understood. And it was one of those moments where I was like, fuck it. So there was a moment before I got laid off where I would wake up at 5 a.m., go to culinary school at Le Cordon Bleu, get off at 8:45, run home on a bike, shower, and then go to my 9 to 5 from 9 to 5. And then I would get off at 5:30, bike back home, change, and go work at a bar from like 6 to midnight, because I wanted to get my hands wet and get into a kitchen. So I think that's the part we miss now, like having that hunger to do all that, I think is great. but now you'll hire somebody and they want to be the chef tomorrow. And I respect the ambition, but like
Yes.
you gotta sweat a little bit before you get into this thing. So for me, it was just that. It was getting into a kitchen was an aha moment, and realizing how much I loved it was an aha moment. Realizing, I mean, I always joke, the first Avatar movie when the dude like plugs into Mother Earth, like that's what I felt like when I walked into a kitchen, you know? It was that rush of energy, that rush of like, this is where I belong.
Yes.
But then, like you said, I might not like spreadsheets, but what I learned from the finance background and the finance career is you are who you work for, in the sense of where do you learn from, right? And so that's where I decided to, I'm like, hey, I'm not just going to fly around and work for the top dollar. It wasn't about money at that point. And so that's why I came across Pump Room, which is a Jean-Georges restaurant. And it was awesome. I'm so sad it was
Such a
gone.
classic.
Such a great place. And like that place is still like, I'm in a fantasy football from my time at Jean-Georges like 13 years ago,
Oh my God.
with like servers and chefs that I worked for that I still talk to every day. That's probably the only kitchen where I still speak to everybody that I worked with.
Yeah, like a good family environment there.
Yeah, it was like
Wow.
we pushed each other. I learned so much. I was like 28 walking into this kitchen. I was learning from 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds and people who really also were in this journey that they chose and they really were passionate about it. And me coming in as an outsider was something like, man, I told myself, I was like, I'm going to shut up for 5 years. That's what I told myself. I was like, I'm going to shut up because I know my mouth is loud. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep quiet and learn and absorb. And I think that act of internal humility, when you tell your own ego and your own persona to be like, hey, you are going to sit down and listen and just absorb these things. I don't know why that happened. I think it's circumstance. Like you just want to do something you love and finally something clicks in your head and humility kicks in and you just stop talking. And that's what I did. And it's like worked for Jean-Georges, worked my way up to sous chef. And then I had this opportunity come up in Napa Valley because one of my friends who worked with me there, who has gone there, he's like, yeah, you should come stage here. I'm like, I've never even moved out of Illinois since I've been here, since I moved here. So then I realized, oh, wow, I can cook anywhere. I'm not geographically tied to any place. And that was another mind-blowing thing. But then I looked at my wife. I'm like, do you think it's cool if I go stage in California? You know, and she's like, fuck it, sure, do it. And so then I would go out to California. First, I went to LA, really awesome restaurant. Again, another sad one that it's gone, Otium. And Timothy Hollingsworth was really awesome. His team was really great. But it was just the money didn't make sense there because it was LA. And I was like, I can't move to LA for like $13 an hour. It's like, it's not going to happen. But then I went to Bouchon in Napa. And I don't know if you've been to Napa, right?
Yes. I'm going to go to Sonoma actually again in a few weeks.
Oh, man.
I also escaped Illinois for school and
cool.
the Bay Area. And so I still have girlfriends and like, oh no, he family has a house in Sonoma. Oh, okay. I guess I'll fly.
Oh man. So I'm sure you remember a turn you make from going into 29, right? From the main highway and you actually start to enter Napa.
Yes.
When that was happening, I felt like I was in Narnia. You know what I mean? You know, you see the mountains, you see the green, you see the vineyards, and I'm like, where the hell am I? And it was just a mind fuck for 2 days where I was just like, they would show me the French Laundry Garden. They would show me like, this is where this comes from. You're picking this from, hey, go pick this from there. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I think one of the funniest stories I ever said, like somebody was like, go grab the rosemary right now. And my ass ran into the walk-in looking for rosemary. And I'm like, I don't see rosemary here, man. I know I got eyes. I'm good. Like I've been working for 4 years. Like I'm not the cook that runs in, can't see shit. I'm not blind. And go back to the chef, super embarrassed. And I'm like, I don't see any rosemary in there. He's like, where did you look? I'm like, I looked all over the walk-in. He's like, chef, go outside. And I'm like, what do you mean go outside? Like, nobody says go outside in Chicago. We're not picking fucking rosemary from the sidewalk. You know what I mean? So
it's a different planet out there.
Yeah, I go outside.
It's a wonderful planet. Yeah,
100%. Every tree had a rosemary bush underneath it. And so it was just one of those like very, very cool where I was like, I need to be here. So I ended up moving there for a year and a half.
Wow.
And just, you know, that was an amazing experience. And then something, again, it's like getting out of your system and getting out of your comfort zone. Being in Napa was really cool. And I think I was working brunch one day. And I think one of the wildest things in my life for sure was this is when Chef's Table came out. And so at this point, I'm just still like an Indian cook in a French kitchen and cooking other people's stuff, which is amazing. I was learning a lot. But you start to notice things in the French kitchen. It's like, oh, what is Vaduvan curry? And you're like, I'm like, that sounds Indian. They're like, oh, that's French. And I'm like, it's not French, bro. You know what I mean? So
We're like, you
no,
may think
like,
it
what are you
is.
talking about? Yeah, I made family meal at Bouchon. I remember I made a cauldron of like kadai chicken, which is like this really awesome saucy dish, and it blew everybody's mind because it was just they've never had food like that
Right.
before. So it starts to kind of make your own food important because we never saw it as important because we saw it as family style food or we saw
Right.
it as food that we eat at home. So then I'm watching Chef's Table, completely unaware of what I'm about to see. And the second episode is Gaggan. And I'm just like, what the hell is this? And so I sat there for like that whole episode. I just did not speak and absorbed. And it was one of the wildest things because I was just like, I'm going to hit this guy up. You know what I mean? Because in his story, Gaggan, obviously, Gaggan. At the time, it was #1 restaurant in Asia, #4 in the world. It was the only Indian tasting menu, 25 courses, all this crazy shit that I'm seeing in front of my eyes.
So
and I'm
beautiful.
like, I didn't realize people were doing that as a cook.
Yeah.
And so in his story, he writes a letter to Farhan Adria to work at El Bui. And so my ass was like, nobody writes letters anymore, but I can shoot an email.
Yes.
And
You
I
can
put my
fish
heart
on it.
out. Yeah. So I poured my heart out into an email, just send it through. Don't even think about it. And then, 8 months go by. Me and my wife are pregnant with our son. A big Napa fire happens that evacuates us from our apartment. And so it was one of those moments where I had no plans of coming back to Chicago ever. I was gone. And I was like, I'm in California pursuing this thing. And then all of a sudden a baby and a fire kind of just brings us back to Chicago. And I didn't want to be an absent dad. I really did not want to do that. And I knew coming back, and I had a couple of interviews in big restaurant groups here. And I was like, if I take this, I'm going to be 100 hours a week. My kid's going to come. I'm not going to be here. And so very naively, I pull out my, every chef has a black notebook, right? That we write our ideas in whenever we're in the back on break or like right before we go into work or whatever. And the idea in that book was Wazwan. And so Wazwan was something that I was just taking notes about while I was working for 5 years, kind of computing what I would eventually do on my own.
Yes.
But having a baby and moving back to Chicago triggered, hey, you're going to have to create this thing now to create more time as a father.
Wow.
And so that's how all this started. It was to be with my son and to be with my family and to be able to give my wife whatever I could in raising a human being. And so I started this supper club called Wazwan Supper Club in 2017, and it was just a weekend. So I was able to, hang out with him and take care of him during the week. But then that just slowly started to snowball and gain momentum. Ashok wrote about us.
Yes. Oh gosh. I love him. I'm just
I
like,
love him too. Yeah.
so many episodes lately. I'm like, I'm so angry right now about
man, such
just, like,
bullshit.
the shifting
Yeah.
landscape here. I know whatever he does next is going to be amazing. And I think will then shape like what does happen for food media next. So yeah,
It's dead in Chicago. It's gone. There's nobody is good in Chicago.
Substack is where everyone's going.
I don't consider him food media though. He's awesome. Michael Legrand is the shit. But I'm saying traditional food media, like,
oh yeah, done. Was like dipping in at first. Oh
man.
Yeah.
I love everybody that writes about us. I really appreciate it. Please continue writing about us. But like the homework is not being done as much anymore. Sometimes people just kind of name stuff like, oh, this dish has a tortilla crust on it. And it's like, you didn't read about what the dish that you're writing about, or people got to do their homework, but we still appreciate everything that people write. But I think that's part of it, right? It's like food writing is hard and you got to do your homework and you got to know what you're writing about. Like Ashok has had such an immense effect on my career. Like if he doesn't call me, which we didn't even know each other, nothing. And he's like, is this Zubair? I'm like, I heard you do Wazwan. Like, are you doing anything? And I'm like, nah, you know what? I don't have a Wazwan dinner coming up, but I have this art gallery that I'm taking over for like a 2-week period just to do tandoori fried chicken and have this fun casual thing. Yeah. He's like, oh, cool. Do you mind if I write about it? And I'm like, go ahead, bro. But I was more honored that he even called me to do that. Right. And so next thing you know, that thing goes out and we got 500 people in Damon and Augusta just lined up to do that. And that was basically the starting point of everything. And so that catapulted us into like a conversation of who the hell are these guys in Chicago?
Yeah.
Which I love, I feel like I'm losing that now. It's losing the surprise factor. You know what I mean?
Like Sarima, though, like everyone's been lining up.
No. I'm saying being an underdog and being somebody that,
That
you know,
early.
you catch people by surprise. That's such a fun thing to do, you know? And I think I missed that feeling. Like, I mean, yeah, we felt that with Sarima now about what cool things can we do to bring communities together. So with Sarima, it was, I'm Muslim and I'm always laughing because my family will make fun of me too. Because I'll just be like, yo, man, I know we don't eat pork, but like bacon smells pretty fucking good. You know what I mean? And, you know,
It really
pepperoni
does.
smells pretty freaking good. All this smells pretty good. Serrano, Iberico ham looks awesome. You know, have not had any of it. But we always this joke is like, hey, Zubair's always like trying to create things that can get him closer to pork. And I'm like, no, it's not that. It's like basically, how can we get the halal community to enjoy some of the things without having to do it with pork, you know? And so that's why things like doing halal bacon, halal beef bacon that we did ourselves in Wazwan, I would feed all my white friends that and I'd be like, what is that? And he's like, bacon. And I'm like, pork bacon? What? He's like, yeah, bacon. I'm like, nope, that's halal freaking beef, bro. So it's like tocino is a very awesome, you know, pork and bacon sausage. And so Chef Jacob, who is my CDC at Lilac and Coach House, and then helped create Sarima, it was basically me and him having this conversation at Coach House. Maybe we should do an Indian Filipino cafe. This was like 3 months ago.
Oh my God.
We're like, yeah, bucket, let's do it.
That's
you know,
soon?
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't plan shit for a year. That's not how I work. It's like, we want to do
Found
something.
the space and did it. And it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's like simple, you know, Hassan, who's basically sharing our space there, he does salt. And so they have a really beautiful design at salt. And so it's like, if we wanted to not have the spaces clash, but be one cohesive space.
I like that.
And Beard Papas was in that space before, and then they vacated. So Hassan was like, hey, we have the space next to us if you want to come through. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And so I think, I don't know, man. It's one of those things. It's like, the universe is going to bring you spots. The universe is going to bring you opportunities. You have to be able to jump on those opportunities. And yes, it's scary, but when you have the right people around you, it doesn't feel as scary. We found Rima having dinner at Marisco San Pedro.
Oh my gosh.
Desserts came out and I'm like, yo, these desserts are fire. And so we met Rima and I'm like, mental. It's kind of like, this person's awesome. You vlog that person's awesome. And then when this Sarima thing came about, I told Jacob, I'm like, there's one phone call we're going to make. That's it. We're not scouting. We're not interviewing anything. We call Rima, talk to Rima about it. And we just gelled really well. She's awesome. She's amazing. I celebrated her 30th birthday yesterday.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah. And so that's the thing. Collaboration is the root of it, I think. But I think for me, subconsciously for myself, it's how can I get people to believe in themselves so hard that they start creating businesses for themselves, you know? And it's, I think I didn't exactly have that pushing when I started, but I feel like if I would have, then, you know, it can be so invigorating to have somebody support you and believe in you and be like, yeah, it is crazy. It's not organized. Certain parts of it are organized, but it's wild. It's the restaurant industry. That's just how it's going to be. And to be able to see Jacob grow in that way has been really amazing. To see Rishi grow in that way is really amazing. To see Rima grow in that way is really amazing. Because I don't know. I think, it roots back to the way we're brought up. My family, we were brought up to not be about ourselves. We were brought up to do good for yourselves, but like, what can you do for other people? And that's something that I always saw in my parents very effortlessly. Even when they had nothing, they would always do something for somebody else. They would always go to people's houses where their kids weren't taking care of them and they would go take them food and things like that. So it's like, I think our parents' generation has a way of maybe not verbally or upfront telling you or teaching you the way, but their actions taught us the way. Yeah. Their compassion for other people taught us the way. And I think in a way that has entered my psyche since I started. And so it's always been about, of course, growing for myself, because I don't think I was here in the first wing of it because you're trying to figure it out.
Yes.
Once you start to figure it out and you have these good people around you, man, it's like the best thing we can do is to watch them grow. And it really feels cool to not be on the line everywhere and be able to be like, oh, this is cool. Like, I don't have to fucking lift everything, you know? And it's okay to give yourself that grace from time to time.
Yes. You've done such an amazing job of it. I feel like
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You have this entrepreneurial spirit That's the best kind where it's not egocentric. It's not focused
Mhm.
on like, oh, this is going to be for like Zubair to be famous and everything. It's
Nah.
you're lifting other people up so that there can be that catalyst effect of entrepreneurialism. And
Yeah.
that's what really sparks change. Because we need,
Thank you.
like we said, we need the folks who are
Yeah.
apprentice or who stay at one company and become,
Mhm.
the top within 15 years. We need those
Right.
folks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then we
As
need
much as
the
you need your
people.
dishwashers, as
Yeah.
much as you need your cooks that want to cook, like it's not for everybody, and that's
Yes.
okay. But I agree with you. I think
We need the
it's still
adventurers though,
it's boring otherwise. I swear. I
And
can't
it's not always stable taking that route. And that's what scares people
tell.
and stops them. Right. Because they're
100%.
like,
Yeah.
just like your mom said, like, we don't
Yeah.
want things for you to be hard in that way. It's just a
Yeah.
different type of hard.
I think what it taught me was it breaks away these pre-built walls of what you need to exist or what you need to survive,
Yeah.
especially in communities that are immigrant communities, especially in communities that come from maybe super professional, even in places where you come from money or you come from a comfortable situation. Your body and your psyche is going to fight every ounce of anything that says, why would you put yourself in that position? Why would you do that? You know,
That's uncomfortable.
very exactly right. It's
That's
like
risky. There's no
the AC in this place is not nice enough as it is back home. And it's like, I think there's certain people that succumb to that, but then there's certain people that live in that. They live and thrive in that. And I think for me, when I was coming back and it was Wazwan, my kid was 3 months old. I came back home. I was bottle feeding him at like 3 a.m. because he woke up and my phone went off. And this was about 8 months after. And it was an email from Gaggan. And it was an email saying, hey, we have a spot remaining on this externship. If you could come out in July, that would be amazing. This was 2018.
Oh my God.
And I'm like looking around my house and like I'm at my mom's house at the time. And I'm just like 4 a.m. Nobody's up. Nobody's up. And my heart's beating so fast. I'm like, dude, this motherfucker actually responded. And so it was just like, and I talked to my wife the next day. She's like, yeah, you got to go. And so we had this.
He is equally like, you guys are co-founders in every way in life. Like you're like
100%. I tell that to
every
everybody.
way.
I tell that to
Where
everybody.
she is equally as part of each of your businesses because she
1,000. Yeah.
essentially gave you that permission to be yourself and to chase so that there
Exactly.
could be something bigger.
Yeah. And it was scrappy. It was like, I remember the conversations that were like, okay, what do we need to make it this month? And it would be like,
Yeah.
I would call up somebody who's like, I'm like, hey, you called about like a 10-person dinner, right? They're like, yeah, screw it. I'll do it just to make that $1,000, just to make whatever at that time, to pay a car note, to pay rent. And this year we bought a house in Lyle when my parents got older. And it was just like, we were sitting in this house and we're like, man, we used to dream about this part. Like we used to dream about getting a place or buying a house. It took 14 years to do so, but we did it. And it's like, we did it together and it's really, really feels amazing, you know? So it's like when she was like, you got to go to Bangkok, that's what it makes it even more important, where it's like, this is not vacation. This is, again, this is to advance. This is the grind. And so that's why I was saying people that thrive, like I was in maybe a 300 square foot space that they put us in with another dude from Mexico City who's a chef. So me and him are sharing this 300 square foot space. Our beds are like 6 inches away from each other.
Hello.
A lot of people would
very
be
well
like,
now.
hell no, I'm going to go stay at the Ritz-Carlton. I can afford it. And I was like, yeah, I could probably have afforded going to a hotel, but I was like, no, like I'm the guy who's like, I want to feel that. It's like being in those spaces really, again, breaks your walls down. And cooking for me introduced me to so many people in so many ways of life, walks of life, where it really instilled that gratefulness. That's where the humility comes from. It's humility comes from seeing how hard other people have it still and how hard people will continue to have it. And if you can create a space in your restaurants where all of those walks of people can feel comfortable and feel safe, but also feel important and continue to provide for their families or do whatever they need to do. If they want to create a business, yes, I'm down with you. I got you. Let's go. So I think that's what it became for me. In Bangkok, I didn't even eat at any place that had AC because I was like, I don't want it because that means the food's going to suck. You know what I mean?
It's not real. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, I don't know. That's what I thrived in. Not struggle. I thrive in challenging environments. When somebody says you can't do something, I can't sleep, you know? So if I would ever get rocked on a line, I would go home and I could not sleep that night. because I got rocked on the line. I was like, I need to go back tomorrow. I'll show up an hour or whatever early to prove to myself and prove to everybody else, but really prove to myself that I can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you love breaking down walls. Like, it's clear you love to like take rules and push them to the side.
Yep.
You then took that taste of Gaggan and you brought it back to Chicago, and people saw Indian food in a high-end tasting menu for the first time in the city. What do you feel like were the biggest challenges that you faced at that time in terms of breaking through those stereotypical messagings around Indian food and how you are now presenting it?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's always been about flavor, right? And it sounds such a basic thing to say when you're a chef, but sometimes flavor gets lost in the pursuit of presentation. I started essentially Lilac Tiger was Wazwan, and it evolved into Lilac Tiger. But when we took over Lilac Tiger, it used to be a Philly cheesesteak spot. And the guy was like, there's a lot of storage back here. And I'm like, sure, let me look at the storage. And the storage was the coach house. And as we cleaned, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take the storage. And that's like, I knew damn well, because I was a pop-up. I saw the floors, I saw the walls. I'm like, this is not storage, but we're going to let this guy think that he's giving me storage, and I'll take it. And as we cleaned, we uncovered the bar that's there. We uncovered the banquette. And what it really inspired me when I was at Gaggan was his 14-seat, kind of lab that he called it, which is really cool because he had a lot of cool things in there. But besides the cool things, I think what I loved about that experience was what he created in that space. It was a party. It was fun. But what he created was really cool. And like, I just saw the glow on people's eyes, like when they loved that interaction and there was no curtain, you were just part of everything. It was just fun. That stuck with me. And so when I looked at the coach house, I was like, that's what this place is. This is 22 seats. Granted, there's no kitchen, but he did it with no kitchen there too. It was like induction burners and like, and it was just like, I could do that. And so when we're full, we do 44 seats in the coach house, 2 seatings. That's about 300 some plates. And we do it all out of 1 electrical oven and 2 induction burners. That's it. And so it's basically your every move. It's not that we script it, but it's the way we do it. And in the beginning, I had to do it alone, which is great because nobody's there to get in your way. Yeah. But it's wild. You start getting into these modes where like you are 5 steps ahead of yourself because you have to be, because there's no curtain. Everybody can see what you're doing. So you can't make a fucking mess. You can't be all over the place. You can't be loud. And nobody trains you for that. But having 22 people in front of you staring at you will train you for that and will basically mold you into this person. And I think
the dance that you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's always dancing. And it's my first job when I was 15 was like selling credit cards to people as a caller. It's like I was a telemarketer and I was pretty good at it. And I remember I was like, man, I'm pretty good at that. And then so after that, I was like the pioneer at 18 of the generation of, brown dudes that were selling you cell phones in the kiosks at the mall when you didn't really want one. That was me. And so it's like, fast forward to having that sales ability, but now you are talking about food that you created. You're talking about things that you love. That stops being a sales thing. It just becomes, you want people to eat
a story.
You want them to experience something different. And I think that's where it really transitioned for me in the coach house, was that it's not just about presentation. It's not a white tablecloth room. We're sitting in a horse stable from 1871. You can see that. The bathrooms are cool. They're nice. We redid them, but they weren't in the beginning. Yeah. In the sense that they were just all black. It was just like, there's so many things that have happened in that space over time where we made it our own, and that's where it changed. I think for us, you get a really great meal. Every single course, I love achars. So we make achars for every single course. And there's this natural transition that happens. And I'm not sure how. I swear to you, this is not something we sit down and script or anything like that. Me and Jacob will just get into that room and just cook. And somehow, whatever we organize and cook, and of course, with the help of like David Moore with the pairings that he does, it's really amazing. The team starts to kind of collaborate about where things should be. And so you have this natural dance that happens from creation where there's no spreadsheets involved in how we organize the emotion that's in the room. The emotion is the food, and the emotion is the people who are executing the food. the people who are serving the food. So it becomes this very, very cohesive kind of, I don't know, I can't describe it any other way that when you walk into the coach house, you leave the world behind and you're just there. It's really awesome.
It's so poetic that you said the coach house is from 1871. That's the year of the Chicago fire.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. We talk about that every single time.
It's just like such a big piece of history. The fact that it survived from that period. And there's always that sense of like being rebirthed from fire, right?
100%.
So you were able to, it's almost like you took everything in your life and you were able to rebirth it in the coach house and then take that forward to everything else you've done.
100%.
So poetic.
It's crazy. Yeah, I didn't think about that actually. That was good. I haven't thought about the whole burning down aspect of it, but you're right. Absolutely. Like it's
you got to burn things down.
You got to figuratively burn things down to regrow. What I think about the coach house, people are always like, "Man, you're here," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here because it's the heart of everything we do." Mirra was born in that coach house. Sarima was born in that coach house. Most likely something else will be born in that coach house. Yeah.
Well, you used to bottle the achars. Do you think you'll go CPG again in the future?
No, we still do. We sell it on here. Yeah, we still do.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm thinking like there was a period there wasn't.
It was just crazy because I don't have like a factory, so I'm literally there canning them myself in the morning. And there was
he's got his matchas, which are awesome.
Yep. Yeah, they're really good. We're actually trying to like maybe mass produce these guys at some point when time allows, because his matchas are so good. And so that's what I love about Mirra. It's like there'll be achars and matchas and like they just go really well together. And it's just fun. It's like a different side of fermentation and pickling that everybody needs to know about. And I think that's what's fun about going through it with the Mirra menu, but also going through it with the Coach House menu. And it's really a big part of it. You know, it's Sarima too. We have achar. So it's like really incorporating that into everything that we do is amazing because that's another kind of point that we're teaching everybody about, you know, because up till now, Indian food is naan and butter chicken and chicken tikka masala. And I love all of those things. Don't get me wrong. But what I always say is like India is like going to Indiana and Wisconsin, and it's a different religion, it's different food, it's different language. I think it's some crazy statistic that every 1,500 feet or something like that, food changes in India, you know? So it's like we can't be represented by one region. I love the northern region. It's really great food, but there's a hell of a lot more that we need to go through, and we still are barely scratching the surface. But I think this year has been really proud for me because you got all these guys in like Dubai and Trisand, the people, all the chefs that came in the footsteps of Floyd Cardo's in India and Bombay Canteen who are doing crazy things. Dishoom sold for like $700 million to
coming over here.
Private. Yeah. And I'm like, people, you know, it's funny because people are like, oh, that's sellout. I'm like, nah, man. No, that's not sellout. I mean, sure.
I like to think of it, especially if someone sells, like, they get to take the dream. They take the dream further.
Good for you, 100%. I mean, good for you. I mean, this show's been around for a long time. Yeah. So if that family who got to start that, I think that's what a lot of people forget. And I think that's another thing about being an entrepreneur, right? In the beginning, you're always like, as cooks, sometimes you hate on big corporations, or you'd be like, oh, let us entertain you. Oh, Boca. And then you start to know, and then you start to learn. Then you meet people like RJ, and you meet
Kevin,
people,
and you're like,
Kevin, and you read the
history.
history, right? And you go to RJ Grunts, and you're like, man, now you feel small because you're talking shit about a group that started with this diner and is now nationwide with what, 200 something spots. Yeah. Who the hell are you to talk shit about that? Right. It's like, they're the leaders of systems. And like, I think there's things that people can pick at it about with cultural representation or stuff like that. But I think generally, I don't know, you can't knock people that build businesses to a big point. I think how you do it obviously matters. I mean, how you represent the people you put in leadership definitely matters. And I think for the most part, they've done a pretty good job of that.
Yes. And I love thinking of all those places too, like the people that have come from them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. It's easy to sit on the side. That's the thing, right? It's easy to sit on the sidelines. We know a lot of people like that who are the disgruntled cooks or the disgruntled chefs. And it's like, bro, nobody's telling you to take your salary. Go do something on your own. But you got such a problem with it. Go create something. Right? And that's where, no, I can't do that. It's like, exactly. Then all the excuses start to come out. And it's like, okay, so then stop talking. It's the quintessential, you don't have anything productive to say, then just keep it to yourself, man.
Yeah. That's very the online culture too. It's like
Oh my
you
God.
can say a
Yeah.
lot behind a screen.
It's very easy.
But
Yeah.
they've never done it. So it's
Never.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's common. And I'm
Yep.
sure it comes from a grass is greener perspective too, of like they're secretly wishing that they could
It's
have like done
insecurities.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insecurities. And I think, at least for me, the people that I've come across, it's like, I was also insecure about, is this going to work?
Yes.
I mean, we'd be lying if there's so many times where I went to my wife, I'm like, should I just go take a job? It'll be so
Right.
easy if I just go take a job. And she'll be like, you'll hate that job in 2 weeks. She would tell me that. She's like, you'll hate that job in 2 weeks. You won't like it. You will quit because you don't like it. And so I think you have to figure out who you are to a certain extent. And sometimes life will help you figure that out. And for me, I figured out that I like sitting here talking to you at 10 o'clock in the morning and not having anybody to report to. And it took some time to get here, but that's the fruits of your labor. If you want to hang out with your son, I get to go and I will hang out with my son if I want to. And it's like having that freedom that's what is understated about doing what you love, and all the hard days and everything. That's worth it right there. Just being able to hang out with your family when you need to and being able to do what you need to do is why you do this.
Yeah. I mean, it's really the success metric of happiness that comes from that we all want.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I want to compare to those two things then. So we've got our intrinsic happiness that I think we all seek for, right? Love and happiness. And it sounds so woo-woo, but it's true.
We do.
It comes down to
it. Yeah.
But I mean, all of your hard work, congratulations. You have been James Beard nominated multiple times.
I appreciate it.
You've now reached this even wider audience thanks to Top Chef this last year. I do want to touch on that experience a little bit.
Sure.
What challenges? So what really said, you're going to go on like nationwide TV and be in these cooking challenges and be judged well by other peers at your level and who are icons?
Yeah. I mean, the funny part is that because of everything that's happened so far, and I think it's just the way my life has gone so far, it becomes less about fear of being judged. Yeah, there was nerve-wracking moments for sure, but I kind of love that because it was almost like, and I think all the chefs that were on this season, and by the way, we are all, for the most part, very, very good friends, and like we all have this chat thread that we talk on every day. But I think what everybody will tell you is that experience and that pressure and the nervousness, it really activated in a lot of us something we hadn't felt in a long time. And so it's that really amazing vacuum of just being able to be creative and having fun cooking and not worrying about labor models and not worrying about if the rent is going to be paid. Did we pay that purveyor? That was the biggest gift of Top Chef. The biggest gift of Top Chef was being off grid and being able to just, oh yeah, we love to cook, right? And yes, you got your TV stuff and you're being wrangled around and stuff like that, but you're being wrangled around with people that are really talented and really amazing. And so those relationships that we built while we were there were lifetime ones. And I would not trade a thing for it. And it's also, as an entrepreneur, I'm like, for me, I was like, this is the biggest, freest marketing property I've ever come across, because we never paid for PR coming up. Wazwan, all these articles, like people are always like, oh, who's your PR company? I'm like, we don't have one. And we were recently engaging with something with Mirra, but like up till now, it's like, it's all been organic. And so for me, it was like, man, I mean, think about how many people watch Top Chef, right? How many people are watching Top Chef wishing they could be chefs, or wishing they would have followed their dream to cook, wishing they could have did something different in their life. And I think for me personally, I was the representative of that. If somebody even from watching the story was like, hey man, if this goofy ass dude was able to do this, why not me? And I think that was my biggest thing. And other than that, it was just, I was going to cook whatever I was going to cook. And it's really hilarious the past year of Chopped, Top Chef, Coach House. The common denominator in all of those has been one ingredient, which is duck, and it's hilarious because it's like, I fucked it up on Top Chef, then I did really great on Chopped.
Duck.
And before each of those in Coach House, the final course is this duck Numidian, which is inspired by 927-year-old recipe from southern Spain,
Wow.
pre-Crusade. So it's like duck has been such a big part of my life unintentionally because I'm Indian. Like we don't even eat duck, you know what I'm saying? But there's some duck recipes in South and stuff like that. But generally, we don't consume duck. But I think I laugh at that. You never realize like what one ingredient can mean to you. And in this past year, duck has meant a lot to me. And same with Top Chef. It's like to see Daniel Boulud eat tandoori fried chicken on TV and love it.
Oh,
Man,
cool.
just for that, I was like, I'm down to go home right now. Yeah,
That was insane.
insane. And it was cool to be up there with Cesar because we knew each other during Wazwan days. And so he came out, I think, and helped out at one of the pop-ups. And he leaned in. He's like, this is pretty cool. And so
And
things like that, man.
Bailey,
What
you
was
know,
that? I'm sorry?
and you've got Bailey from Monteverde.
Bailey's a badass. Bailey is amazing. We never met until the first day there. So the first episode
Amazing.
in the car when she goes, I'm from Chicago. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm from Chicago. Like, why haven't we met yet? You know?
Where are you? Yeah.
Yeah. But no, she works at the behemoth that is Monteverde and the best restaurant in Chicago, all of that, right? And so Sarah's really amazing too.
Yes.
And it's still things like that where you get to meet people like that. First time I got to even talk to Sarah, talk to Bailey and see how they work, it's like really reminded me of how myself, Jacob, how we all work. And I think it's really cool to see that. Like you always have to have that. What I always tell Jacob, I was like, man, now you got to find your own Jacob. And then we tell one of our junior sous, Angelo, will be like, Angelo, you got to find your own Angelo, bro. You know, so having the likeness and same people that have that work ethic, that's how we keep this thing moving forward. But Top Chef, man, yeah, it's cool to walk into Lowe's and take like 8 pictures. And it's like, I'm trying to get the service with like a fan because our AC went down at Lilac. And it was one of those days where I was just like, why the hell are there so many Top Chef people at Lowe's on like Division Street? You know what I mean? So those days are cool. Those days are cool.
I think what you just said too is that you're all also building these like generational cycle of, I think, hard work and kindness as well.
Mhm.
And we wouldn't have, I guess, Bailey on TV if it wasn't for Sarah, if it wasn't for Tony. Like,
Yeah.
and you're kind of like, oh, these are all really nice people as well,
Mhm.
from what, you know,
So
you
nice.
pass by them and or say hello at something. And I think that is what's so appreciated as well as we
Mhm.
continue on in this journey is that life is already hard enough. People used to think like to be a top chef, you kind of got to be an asshole. And I like that. That's really changed.
Assholes get canceled. You know, it's like, and they should be canceled.
They
And
should.
it's like, yeah. And it's not about being an asshole. It can't
No.
be.
That
A
doesn't mean you're a
career-
leader.
Yeah. Our careers are acts of nourishment
Yes.
and acts of feeding people. And it can't be assholes doing that. And I think the world it's good. It's changed a lot. I would say that we're still fighting for balance, right? Like you want to have the balance of work ethic and doing what is needed with kindness.
Yes.
And it's tough. That's a tough thing to balance. And everybody, I would think, will say that because there's always those like, oh, this is how it used to be when we started.
Right.
And yeah, sure. There's some positives that came out of those intense environments that we started in, but it also, you know, caused people to derail themselves into drug addiction or alcoholism and depression and all sorts of things. Not that doesn't still exist. Of course, that exists everywhere. But man, if you can just make people feel good about what they're doing as a livelihood, then maybe we can mitigate those things. Me, first and foremost, like I'm not immune to any of those things, not immune to giving into your demons, especially when it's a pandemic happening and all this stress is around you.
Seriously.
But I think what brings you out of those dark times is looking at your kid's face, looking at your mom's face, your wife's face, and realizing that these people count on you, even though they might not say it all the time, but you mean something to them. And just that alone, I think for me, if I didn't have my kid and if I didn't have my family, like I don't know where I would be, honestly. I think because things get hard, days get hard. And those are the days that your family is going to really lift you up and give you reason to keep pushing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could keep talking to you for hours. I'm going to give
Yeah.
you the last few questions before we
Okay,
get to
cool.
the world's best
do
and
it.
hardest question.
Okay, cool.
So, what do you think is next in the journey? You have so much to be proud of. How do you want to grow? Do you think you'll be outside Chicago ever? What do you think is coming up next?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think the world is wild right now. So I think as a
Yeah.
business owner, not to be cynical, but I'm trying to be a little bit of a cautious to
Yeah.
see how things roll out. But I would say that's why I would not go outside of the city, because we're built on culture. We're built on experience. And I may not be able to be at Mirra every single night, but that's why I know and I trust that Rishi can do what he needs to do there to execute what we want to execute. And same thing with Sarima. I'm not there every day, but I know that Rima and Jacob are going to be there and do it. And that's why we got them involved. And so it's like having that touch point is very important. Having the people you trust in those positions is very important. So I think I would stay in Chicago, but I don't know, maybe something I see. I want a kitchen. Such a novel idea. Cook wants a kitchen, but we'll see what happens. I'm very impulsive. So you never know. Like 2 weeks from now, I might see a spot and be like, all right, cool. Let's do a restaurant here, And so for right now, we're very happy. I'm very content. I'm happy with the way things are going at Mirra. I'm happy with things. Sarima was such an unexpected, beautiful surprise for this year, even for me. And so it's really great. And of course, the coach house is the continuing heartbeat of it all. But no, I'm just super grateful I get to do this every day.
What's your biggest piece of advice you'd give to anyone looking to be an entrepreneur, whether that's in the culinary space or any other industry?
Blind faith in yourself. I think the biggest piece of advice is get advice from people, like talk to people you respect, have mentors, sure, but don't execute anything in your life based on somebody else's word. Execute it on your belief, execute it on what you compile from those conversations. But I think that's my biggest advice is listen to yourself first, because a lot of people are not going to be thinking the way you are. A lot of people won't be prepared to take the risk that you might take. And sometimes people like that may walk you off that risk.
Sure.
They might walk you off that cliff that you're about to jump off of. And I always joke, I'm like, I'm the guy that jumps off of a cliff and figures out how to land on the way down. You know what I mean? And that's what my career has been, is that, oh, we're a chance, boom. Nobody's doing that. I don't, cool, even better, you go for it. And I think that's creating that parachute is experience. That's your experience that you built along the way. And you'll slowly, I don't know how to make this analogy, but like if you don't put yourself in that high pressure, oh my God, got to make this work, and you're not going to find that latch that you built over the years in order to save yourself and basically let you parachute down something that is going to be the most beautiful descent and beautiful view that you could ever imagine. But you never get to see that view. You never get to see that descent if you didn't jump, So I don't know if that made sense.
That's
but,
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I
Love
appreciate
that.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here we are, Zubair. A little reminder for folks. This is called the perfect bite because it's a perfect bite of the value chain of everyone who brings us amazing businesses across food, but also because we all have our own perfect bite. So a memory, your favorite recipe, just something you ate you'll never forget. So, what is your perfect bite?
Man, it's got to go back to mom and grandma. My perfect bite is, 6:55 in the morning. You smell cast iron and you smell the sourness in the air. And that can only mean one thing, and that means a crispy dosa. And my mom makes them every Sunday. Every Sunday is dosa day in our house. She makes her own batter. I think the perfect bite for me is a very crispy dosa with aloo poriyal, which is this like spicy potato mix, with malaga puri, which is a lentil kind of condiment, and a spicy coconut chutney. So you can get all four of those things in that crispy. 8 dosas later, you'll want another one. You know what I mean?
Maybe there's enough more.
Yeah. When you said perfect bite, that is what comes to mind. And I think, there's no perfect bite more than that. Dosa, malga puri, coconut chutney.
And it brought you here today.
Yep, absolutely. In the veins. We'll never have a 6-pack because of it, but it's okay. Dosa's
overrated. Zubair, this has been incredible. Awesome. Thank you again so much for your time and your advice. Can you let folks know where to find you? So social accounts, websites, and the different venues here.
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's Zubair Mohajir. For all of the spots that we're involved in, you can just go to chefzubair.com and it'll have everything there for you. But Mirra for our Indian Mexican spot, Coach House for the heart tasting menu, A Lilac Tiger, if you're just trying to have some fun and have some amazing food. Chef Jacob does a great job with that menu. And of course, Sarima for your mornings. But regardless, wherever you find us, just come say hi. And we appreciate all of the support that we've gotten from Chicago up till this point. And restaurants are a way of meeting those supporters. So that's been one of the biggest gifts of all of this, is getting to meet the people that waited in line at Wazwan, getting to meet the people who've been following the journey. And we can't say thank you enough for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for joining me, everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening in. This was Zubair Mohajir's Perfect Bite. Thanks for tuning in to The Perfect Bite today. You can listen to future episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thanks in advance for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. You can follow The Perfect Bite on social media @PerfectBitePod. Now go get something good to eat.